So first, I'm gonna share 5 things that I wish I knew about making music before I made any money. Number 1, organization. All right, how you label your files, how you store them, the files that you put them in, tracking out your stems, being totally organized the moment that you're done with a track, okay? I wish I knew a lot better about how to organize, what to organize, but over time you start to get in a little bit better habit because you start to have a lot of assets and there's only so far that you can go, only so much music that you can make, to where you just have files everywhere that aren't named, and when you don't know where anything is, that's not an efficient way to work. Especially when you start to collaborate with other artists, you really want to know where your files are and how to access them, whether that be on a cloud, on an external hard drive, how you store them on your computer. It all matters. When you're collaborating with other musicians, producers, engineers, they know how serious you are about your work just based off of how you share files with them. You know, so one of the big things that I'm focused on right now is establishing a standard of collaboration. One of the main ways in doing so is establishing a standard of file sharing and how we share our files. So, how do we share our files, ladies and gentlemen? We start the file off with the key, okay? Then the beat per minute, then the name of the instrument, then the name of the artist, okay? So it'll look like A minor, 120 beats per minute, synth lead, Juice, okay? Let me repeat. A minor underscore, 120 beats per minute underscore, synth lead underscore, Juice, okay? Very simple, okay? This is an easy standard of file sharing to where when you share your files, the first thing that I ask as a producer is what key is it in and what's the beat per minute, okay? So I know that there's plugins that exist that kind of do all that work for you, but let's be real, that's a process, you know, it's a step in between. So if I know the beat per minute and the key, then I'm already thinking about what I can add to. Now, you know, as we progress in our craft, you can kind of tell the key, what key it's in based off your ear. But again, I don't want to do any guessing and I don't want a step in there to figure it out. So if I know in the file what key it is, what beat per minute it is, it makes my job a lot easier when it comes to file sharing and storage, as well as whoever I'm collaborating with. The second thing that I wish I knew before I made any money in music is piggybacking off of the organization and file sharing is creating a spreadsheet of my catalog, okay? That's that second oomph layer of being able to have yourself organized, and not just you, but your catalog. And the reason why that is because when you start to distribute your music, there is a metadata standard in which, when it comes to distribution, you know, the music industry really kind of follows a set standard of how they intake and receive your music. So they need the genre, what it sounds like, you know, the year, the collaborators, the description, and all that good stuff, right? So you want to put these things in a spreadsheet, and all the keywords as well. You want to throw the keywords in there so that now, let's just say I'm licensing my music, you know, and there's various different platforms that you can leverage and utilize to license your music. So when I'm uploading my tracks to these platforms, they ask for genre, sounds like, keyword, what other artists are on the track that you collaborated with. And when you don't have this information readily available, you're always having to put this information in over and over and over again. If I didn't put this information in the spreadsheet when I was done making the track, I would put this information in the first time that I would upload the track to a sync licensing platform like Songtrader or Sync Songwriter, okay? These are a couple platforms that people use and leverage to license their music. So as soon as I'm uploading that track, I'm now putting this information into the spreadsheet catalog, and then vice versa. Now, when I come across a new platform that I think has equal and if not better opportunities to license my music, when it asks me for that information, I'm not thinking anymore. I'm literally plugging and chugging, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. And the process of automating our functions on the back end is how we scale as independent artists and start to find more successes. When you start to make your money is when you start to really need to get serious about your music business. If you weren't serious before, like if it was an accident, then you're already behind the 8 ball, okay? None of us want to be in that position because that's how we get taken for our intellectual property. That's how we get taken for granted. And before we know it, we find ourselves signing deals. We find ourselves in contracts to where it's not doing us a service, it's actually doing us and our careers a disservice. So these are the little things that we have to be on point on when it comes to effectively generating revenue. The third thing that I wish I knew about making music before I made any money was about the 6 main types of music licenses. Those being sync licensing, mechanical licensing, performance licensing, print licensing, and theatrical licensing. I'm missing one more, and your master's licensing, okay? So mechanical royalties, sync royalties, master's royalties, print royalties, theatrical royalties, and performance royalties, okay? I know there's always one that you might always forget. And so I'm actually gonna do another video highlighting all 6 of those and what those really entail. But again, not knowing anything about either of them does yourself a disservice because now you really have no idea your role that you play relative to the greater context and the picture of making music, okay? Those 6 music licenses are effectively 6 different markets, 6 different niches, right? 6 different target audiences that you're distributing your music to. So if you don't know anything about any of them, then how are you gonna get your music out there to anyone, right? And so, and then again, you know, the music industry covets artists' intellectual property. And it's really easy to know when an independent artist doesn't know what they know, you know? And so it's even easier to take advantage of an artist when they don't know these things. Again, the third thing that I wish I knew before making any money off my music is about the 6 different licenses. Maybe I knew a few of them. Honestly, I did, about sync licensing, your masters, your performance rights, right? But when it comes to theatrical, print, and even mechanical rights, you know, that might be something I didn't know as much about, you know? So, you know, and again, I did find myself in situations that luckily I had a good enough understanding to fend for myself. But I was tested, and if I didn't have that understanding, I would have definitely failed that test. And again, this is why I'm doing these videos, because there's so much information and the learning curve is pretty steep at one point in time. So the more we know, the more that we can have this information accessible to independent artists, musicians, singers, songwriters, engineers, DJs, I mean, even graphic artists, because when it comes to the music industry and intellectual property is intellectual property of human beings, not just artists, you know? So when humans as a whole start to understand the implications of how you can utilize and leverage your intellectual property as a digital asset, wow. You know, the top is being blown off the hidden secret, you know? And that is why I'm so passionate about getting this information out here and being a steward of intellectual property rights and starting to understand that process of actually publishing and distributing your music on the blockchain, you know, so that there's a verifiable, transparent ledger of these transactions, you know, so everything can be accounted for. And what greater opportunity do we have as independent artists in 2022 than to leverage a technology as such? Fourth thing that I wish I knew about music before I made any money making music is, where do I go to connect with other like minds and artists to collaborate? I sometimes still don't know where to go, and that is why we've created the Listening Room, a global collaboration hub, okay, that facilitates the creation, collaboration, and distribution for independent artists all across the world, musicians, developers, graphic artists, okay? We provide the tools necessary for independent artists to be successful utilizing blockchain technology. That's what we've been able to do with the Listening Room. We've been able to be guinea pigs, become use cases for how to independently publish and distribute your music on the blockchain. And already we've come out with 5, 6, 7, 8 different ways of what it looks like to distribute your music via fungible and non-fungible tokens. You collaborating with other producers and musicians is only going to not only enhance your sound, but also give you more exposure. Why spend 400% of my time marketing 4 tracks when I can spend 100%, 25%, 25%, 25% on 4 different tracks with 16 other artists pushing the same tracks, okay? That's 16 times more exposure than you'd be getting pushing 4 tracks by yourself, okay? So now we have 4 artists in one Discord, okay? Each bringing 100 fans, okay? Say I have 100 fans, Disguise has 100 fans, RC has 100 fans, and Crime Fighter has 100 fans. Imagine all of us bring all of our fans to one ecosystem. Now let's not get this twisted. The common denominator between all 400 fans is that they're all music lovers, okay? So if your fans love music, your fans love music, your fans love music, the chances of your fans loving my music are pretty good, especially if we connect with each other as musicians and collaborators. If we're collaborating and connecting with each other, then we have found a synchronicity, a synonymous flow, you know, maybe similar tunes and hues and vibrations that we create with. And so it's a no-brainer. Why not bring all of us together? When one of us is releasing, we're releasing to 400 people instead of 100, okay? But again, I didn't have that, you know, 8 years ago, 7 years ago when I first started making music. And I really, not that it didn't exist, but I had no idea where to find it, you know? So yeah, it's been an awesome opportunity to actually facilitate that creation, collaboration, and distribution, and take part in it, you know? We have a track called You Can't Stop Me Now by Oracle. Oracle is Juice, me, Disguise, Irie Reyna as the vocal artist, and Andrew Donovan as our engineer. And so whenever all 4 of us hop on a track together, we name ourselves Oracle. And we have a hit. I created the initial composition. I had a demo of some vocals. I sent Irie this composition and the demo of these vocals. I asked her, I said, hey, do you think that you can do this on this track? You know, she proceeded to go into the studio with her engineer. We got to collaborate live on Discord. So Disguise, Andrew Donovan, and I all hopped into the Discord with Irie while she was live in the studio. We got to give her feedback in real time. And then boom, from there, Irie did an amazing job laying her vocals. And then from there, we sent that track to Disguise, because Disguise, man, he's an amazing DJ. He's got a great thumb on the percussion and being able to take it up to that house dance level. I love house and I love making house music, you know, and that's why I trusted sending the track to Disguise, because I knew he was gonna do what he did to that track and take it up to that final level, which he did. And then from there, we sent it to Andrew Donovan to get the final mix down. And what do you know? We have a summer hit, okay? And the only reason why it's a summer hit is because it literally went through 4 different hands. You know, it touched 4 different very talented artists and musicians to then come out with this final product. And this final product is something that speaks volumes to what it means to collaborate, you know? something that we're really proud of. And we did that just as a prime example of how to leverage and utilize everything that the listening room has to offer. We can't wait to continue to onboard new independent musicians, artists, and developers into the ecosystem so that we can continuously show them how to effectively, sustainably, and efficiently create, collaborate, and distribute with other like minds. Now, to save the best for last, the fifth and final thing that I wish that I knew about making music before I made any money making music is this: patience. Allowing myself to be, not being judgmental of myself when I'm not creating or making music. I think that's one of the hardest things as a creator, is to not judge yourself, right? Because everyone else spends so much time judging your work that you're the last person that should be judging your own self in the same way that others are judging you. You know, that is the first and main reason why I believe people find themselves in a position of writer's block, because they're overthinking, you know, and that overthinking leads to judgments and thoughts that have nothing to do with your actual flow state of creativity. You know, so maybe it is taking a moment, taking a break, taking a walk, going for a bike, a run, a swim, you know, hanging out with friends or family. I think all of these things are actually necessary to refill that creative tank, you know, so that you have enough creative juices to be able to take that moment to create and allow yourself to create. It's really a free flow and it's fun, you know? Allowing yourself to flow freely and create at will is really fun. Simply creating a really basic melody and then adding another layer to it. And now there you are, you have these two layers that create the base of what's gonna be your next hit, you know? It's like, it really isn't that hard, you know? And then once you kind of get rolling, it's a continuous allowing, you know? And the puzzle starts to create itself. And utilizing your ear, utilizing different keys and the beat per minute, the puzzle starts to build itself and you're only the facilitator. You just have to put those necessary pieces together. It's a lot less thinking, more so than it is a reacting and flowing to what's presented. Those are the 5 things that I wish I knew about making music before I ever made any money. And these are the 5 things that I want to share with other independent artists that are just getting started on their journey and that are wondering the same things. So stay tuned for part 2, where I talk about the 5 things that I wish I knew about crypto and blockchain before I released an NFT collection. Stay tuned.